Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and on my left, affectionately, our aging rocker, Emmet. And we're going to call this Cafe on the Prairie.
Fascinating. Yep.
Cafe on the Prairie.
I love it.
We're out here, sounds of music. The hills are on.
Yes, I love
the sound of music. I'm no singer, but
yeah.
Oh, this is going to be fun being on this set.
Yes.
This is, I think, the second time I've ever used this set.
Yep.
And I'm checking my watch, and hand gets on the 3. We're out of here for this first taping. So I thought I'd do something different, and we'll just use this metal set here. How you been lately?
Quite well. How are you?
Just fine. I'll take some of that secret ingredient.
All right.
For the audience who don't know what I mean when I say secret ingredient, in Star Trek number 5, there's a scene where Dr. McCoy is cooking some beans for Mr. Spock, and he puts alcohol in the beans.
Yep.
Now, I'm not endorsing alcohol.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this is Spock's eating the beans. He's like, I never tasted beans like this before. I wonder... I've never had this flavor. This is Dr. McCoy tells Spock that it's alcohol. Whiskey, Tennessee whiskey. Am I to assume that you put whiskey in your beans? And Dr. McCoy says, yeah, it's the secret ingredient to the beans. And Captain Kirk says, you got any more of that secret ingredient? So
I love it.
So when I say that to Emmet, that's what that's referring
yes, indeed.
to. Which is really cool.
Yeah, delicious.
You can start us off.
Heavenly Father, thank you, oh God, for this show and our fascination in Jesus' name. Bless our show.
Amen. Yeah, so on that, on the Cafe on the Prairie, I got the perfect song.
You know, this reminds me of heaven. This always has. I'll tell you why, because on my show, The Awful Truth About Society, I've done shows on heaven, and to me, this would be my perfect heaven, in a cabin somewhere back in this wilderness over here. And so we're kind of having a cafe in heaven in a beautiful prairie like this where the trees are just love a nice wooden cabin with all the luxuries I wanted. I mean, this looks like heaven. To me, this looks, and look at all that wilderness way out in the back, just lots of forest, and here's the beautiful meadow. Looks like heaven to me, you know.
That's a short version of Tumbling Tumbleweeds.
Yes.
And yeah, speaking of heaven, I was listening to Billy Graham once, and he was talking to Johnny Carson in an interview. Johnny says, Mr. Graham, will there be golf in heaven? And Mr. Graham's answer was, if golf is what you need for heaven, then for you there will be golf in heaven. And I think that's an interesting answer, because I guess heaven, whatever it is, your idea of heaven, that's most likely what you're going to get when you get to heaven.
Exactly.
And for me, when I was a little boy, I used to like to explore. And I understand we'll have bodies equipped for outer space and things like that. We'll be able to explore the heavens. And that's kind of my idea of heaven.
That's wonderful.
I want to explore the universe, because the Bible talks about new heavens, new earth. And the first thing I got to find out when I meet the Lord is, well, God, you know, when I was a little boy, I used to watch Lost in Space. And they were always trying to get to Alpha Centauri. So I'm going to ask the Lord if there's a such thing as Alpha Centauri. And if there is, that's where I'm going to go. That's the first place I want to go when I get to heaven, is Alpha Centauri. And then when I get there, I want to like walk around and explore the planets. That's going to be pretty cool. To be able to go to the heavens and explore, you know?
Absolutely.
Or just visit planets.
I love it, yeah, because we'll have all the eternity to do this, but if you need various stuff in heaven, then I'll need coffee. Like a beautiful pot and just delicious coffee and some cake, ice cream, steak.
I think there's a verse that says we don't know what heaven hasn't entered the imagination. What heaven
eye has not seen, ear has not heard, but has entered in the heart of man. What God has.
So no telling. And you may get your coffee or...
something more incredible. We'll have something incredible. It will be beyond belief,
Well, let's talk about heaven for a little bit. That's something we haven't talked about in the cafe. Now, this is what I personally believe about heaven. You know, there's a new city called the New Jerusalem in Revelation. And I believe that city is going to hover in space. Over the new earth. Kind of like that Star Trek episode. You remember that episode, the Stratos, when they were on that cloud city? I think that's what it's going to probably be like, something like that. It probably won't have the clouds like that episode on Star Trek, but I think it'll be hovering over in space. And I think you'll be able to see the earth from the New Jerusalem. And spin around and just have
fascinating. Who knows? Because the New Jerusalem was only a sliver of heaven, one of the streets of gold. That was kind of like a snapshot of Missoula. If I did a snapshot of Missoula, that wouldn't be the whole of Missoula. So that's part of it, since that's the Word of God. But out in other places in heaven, there's probably a place like this that is so incredible, you know.
Yeah.
With my own cabin, some lawn chairs, lawn furniture, a piano, and maybe some coffee and some nice cake. And,
oh yeah.
We can go down to the lake there to eat cake. Yep, fascinating. A friend of mine from high school said that in some characters of down to the lake, down to eat cake. He was a very fascinating person, very funny person.
Yeah. Well, anyway, getting back to heaven, I think that's going to be a neat place.
I can't wait to go, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're always saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die to get there.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, yeah.
But that's going to be pretty cool. But in the meantime, we could be on the cafe on the prairie.
Yes,
today.
fascinating.
I'll call this episode Cafe
What a concept.
Yeah, Cafe on the Prairie. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting out here doing a one-on-one out in the prairie. So that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Little house on the prairie. Cafe on the prairie.
Yep.
I'm adjusting this here. I can't seem to get this like I want it. I'll get it. There it is.
Yeah, and it's perfect for easy listening, something like this, yeah.
Yeah.
Even on the easy listening station 947, you know what they do show is scenes like this. There are a lot of nature scenes on that because they show, because it's a TV, so they show backdrops of various things on the music choice channels on Charter.
Really?
Often they do. Not every one, but often they do. For a while they stopped, but now they do again, and they'll show like nature scenes on easy listening, or forests and sunshine and flowers, or even rocks on a beach stacked up against each other. It's really cool. I really like it. It's beautiful, you know.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. They might be playing some Lawrence Welk, or maybe some Roger Williams and some other things, and they just have these type of pictures, you know, on.
Yeah.
I just love it. I just love it. You know, it's very nice to look at, you know.
Well, like I mentioned, heaven's going to be exploring for me.
Yep.
I mean, these keys are really getting hard to push down lately.
Yes.
So the Lord would be like, "Where are you going, Asaph?" "Well, I think I'm going to go out in outer space again.
I love
see
it.
you in about 1,000 years."
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And 1,000 years is nothing compared to eternity. So that's
1,000 years is the day. So. But yeah, heaven. You know what's neat about heaven to me is it talks about no more pain.
Yes.
Now I think that's not only referring to physical pain, like when you stub your toe, but I think it's talking more like no more emotional pain.
Absolutely.
No more breakups.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah.
You know, sad things like that. Can you imagine just bliss and joy for all time?
I love it. I love it.
You'll never cry again. All your tears will be wiped away.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's pretty cool. And we'll be able to eat in heaven too, from what I understand. But it won't be eat in the sense of how we have to eat to stay alive.
Exactly. It'll just be for enjoyment, yeah.
For enjoyment. And there won't be any gaining weight, no calories, and things like that. Dr. Woodrow Crow, he used to host Back to the Bible. And I heard him talking about heaven one time. He said he'd like to get a 40-foot piano at his home in heaven and play.
Absolutely, yep.
So for him, I guess whatever heaven is for you, you'll probably get that.
That's wonderful.
So anyway, but you doing all right otherwise?
Yes, I am. How about you?
I'm hanging in there. I just got, I talked about this on the last show. Got my little phone.
Wonderful.
I've been having such fun with this thing.
Yep.
It's just such a cool device. I'm going to put it on the piano there. I found out I had been losing some work on the piano because people weren't able to reach me. Now they can reach me with that little phone.
Oh, cool.
All right, let's see. Here's another Prairie kind of song. See if you know it. recognize it?
Nope, I don't.
I'll keep playing. The hint is Slim Whitman.
Not really familiar with Slim Whitman too much, yeah.
Okay. And here's the middle part.
Cool.
That is called the cattle call.
Interesting.
C-A-T-T-L-E, cattle call. It was made famous by Slim Whitman, and I think a singer named Eddie Arnold. Easy listening category. It was called the cattle call.
Yep.
And they do the little yodeling.
Yep.
Well, I can't do that, but
yeah.
that's in that easy listening category.
Cool.
I used to listen to Slim Whitman when I was growing up. Slim Whitman was like this famous singer who could do a lot of yodeling in his singing. He did like popular music, but he did it in a kind of a relaxing style, kind of a country western flavor at times.
Yeah, yeah.
But he did more concerts overseas than he actually did in the United States. He lived to be about 90-something.
Oh, interesting.
And he spent his whole life singing, in his whole
Fascinating.
career. Yeah, he was just pretty cool. He had a distinctive look, a little trim mustache, and he just had this baritone voice, and he could just sing.
Oh, wonderful.
And when he yodeled, it was cool because you thought you were out in the meadows like here. It was just so cool to listen to him sing. He was just a fun singer. You can look him up, Slim Whitman.
I think I've heard of the name somewhere.
He was just such a fun... I know it's before your time. He was just such a fun...
Oh, wait! I remember
Slim
because
Whitman,
back in the old days, like the 70s and 80s, they used to advertise records and 8-track tapes on TV. Like, this is Slim Whitman, his best hits. You'll just love...
that's the Slim Whitman
That's it.
And they always advertise that cattle call.
Yeah.
You know, so
and you just special order this wonderful 2-pitch record or 8-track tape or tape of Slim Whitman. Please call this number. You know, you really want to get this special exclusive TV offer. You're going to love his music for generations. It's just going to be wonderful. I never heard of Slim Whitman, but now I remember,
Yeah, well, he goes way back before probably even my time, so the generations now probably won't know Slim Whitman, but he was a fun singer. He was fun to watch and it was fun to listen to, and whenever he yodeled in his songs, it was always fun to listen to him. So I'm just throwing some notes in there and stuff. I think this is episode 108.
Fascinating
today, this metal set.
Wonderful.
So. I don't like what I have on today, so I feel like kind of self-conscious.
Yeah.
There's another outfit I would have preferred to wear. But, you ever get those days, you walk out of the house, you're dressed, right? And then you get too far away from home, you're like, I don't like what I have on.
Yeah.
I wish I was wearing something else.
That kind of happened today because it's a little cold. At first it was too hot. I thought, it's going to be hot for my big leather jacket. I should have worn it. It's getting cold and rainy out there. Probably cold, So I should have taken my leather jacket just for something to wear. I'll do that next time, but it's supposed to get up into the 90s in a few days. I thought I was going to start doing that today, but I guess not. It's already June 2nd. It doesn't feel like it. Feels like March.
I'm doing some Sinatra. It was a very good year. You know that song by chance?
No, I don't.
It's called It's a Very Good Year. I'll do it again.
Okay.
That's the intro. Recognize it?
Nope.
It's called It's a Very Good Year.
Fascinating.
I'm going to stop on that note there. But, have a candy.
Oh, thank you. By the way, I was going through some of my old pictures from childhood. Back to science fiction, if we could talk about that.
Sure. Talk about where
Do you know what I found? I've taken old pictures, from childhood when I was 11, 12. You see, I used to live in Tucson. I was born in Tucson,
Yeah, I knew that.
Well, I think this must have been taken 1981. I always liked taking pictures. You see, I used to have a whole bunch of science fiction toys on a bunch of boards and bricks. I call it a space station because I wanted it organized. But then I have all these action figures and spaceships and that type of thing. There are several other pictures I have of it, but I couldn't find them. But I found the picture of my old space station when I was 12 years old. Would you like me to show it to you for the audience to see? You're gonna love this. It's fascinating. You get to see my old room with all my Space War toys. I'll just hold it up, to the. I know it's an interruption from the.
Don't worry about it.
Cafe. Look at this.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
That was my old space station. As you can see, the flag of thing of Boba Fett. Let's see. This was some spaceships. These are Star Wars and action figures. And let's see. There. For some reason, I thought I had. Well, that's odd. I thought I had my little thing. Oh, yeah, there it is. There it is. I know you can barely see it. It's a self-made laser cannon. You can barely see it that I made. I have it on my bookshelf. And down here is some old junk I had, and down there was some laser guns, and these are spaceships here. Because I wanted them organized so that I could always play with my Space War toys. And I would play them in my room all the time, my Space War toys. You could have come over, Asaph, and we could have played together. I think you'd have loved it, you know?
Well, I once said this. I think if I'd have known you in grade school, we would have been the best of friends, because I was always into that stuff.
And look, this is my, what was it? What is it called? Closet. This was my closet. Oh, and I wish I could have found some of my old pictures. I had the messiest floor.
Really?
My room was always so messy. I had old, cups like this that had soda on it, and it was all over the floor and clothes on the floor. Isn't that fascinating?
Cool.
But yeah, you could have always come over and played with my toys and science fiction toys, and
I probably would have, because when I was growing up, I played with G.I. Joe dolls.
Yeah.
They were like these little, they were about like this big. I don't know how to explain it, but they had like their little military stuff. They had like the Sarge. The Sarge was like this African American G.I. Joe with like red hair, this red afro. And they had like these other military characters, and you just walk with them and play with them.
Oh, I did that all the time.
Yeah, I did the G.I. Joes.
I didn't have
the
G.I. Joes.
Gun. That was fun. The G.I. Joe. They were fun.
Yeah, we could have made a Space War thing with my toy spaceships out of G.I. Joes, and say, let's play some sort of space war related. Fascinating.
Oh yeah. Well, I did all that stuff. I had a few friends that we do all this science fiction stuff when I was growing up.
That's cool.
Growing up, as far as being a kid playing games, that was fun, I admit.
Yes.
And I know that growing up wasn't fun. From emotional and family view. Circumstance view, but as far as imagination stuff, I did get my share of that, and that was fun.
Yeah. I still have a few of my old toys somewhere in boxes, and that old mini laser cannon that I made myself, I still have it on my bookshelf,
Yeah.
And I have a model of the Enterprise, or some sort of...
I had a Star Trek model, too. I had the phaser gun, I had the Star Trek model, I think it was like grade school.
Yeah.
I had the G.I. Joe, and there was another game, a game called Spirograph. Have you ever heard of that? What it was is you would take a canvas paper, and you'd take these little circular things.
I love Spirograph. I loved those.
It was these little circle things that had these little ridges on them.
I loved them.
And you'd put a circle on the inside and sketch out stuff.
I loved those.
Spirograph is what it was called.
I loved those.
And then there was another game I played. See if I can remember it. Operation.
I never cared for that.
You didn't like that Operation
game? No, not for me.
It was kind of cheesy, but it's high your nerves, Kirk. So, I'll get to that line in a moment. You go in there and you try to take out this bonus operation. If you hit on the sides, the nose will go, it light up red.
I never cared for it,
But getting back to high your nerves, Kirk, you have to have steady nerves to play that Operation game.
Yeah.
They had this episode of Star Trek where his name was a fleet captain, Captain Garth. He had like mental illness, so he thought, he was Lord Garth, you know? And there was a scene when he was like not himself, and they had this explosives. And they were messing with Captain Kirk trying to get him to talk. And he pulls out this canister of explosive that'll blow up the whole half of the planet. He goes, "How are your nerves, Kirk?" And he throws it, and one of the guys catches it.
Yeah.
And Kirk just classic line. He's like, "Well, if it happens to me, it'll happen to you."
Definitely, yeah. I love it. Yeah.
You know, I guess this guy thought he was gonna make Captain Kirk crack under pressure.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
You know, Captain Kirk just had some great classic lines in the series.
Yeah.
Like that scene when that Apollo, you remember that Apollo that was like God?
Yes.
And he gets his hand in space, right? He grabs the Enterprise and then he makes them beam down the planet. And Kirk's like, "Okay, we're here. What do you want?" And the guy says, "You're going to worship me and you're going to serve me," kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kirk's like, "You're no God to us, mister. If you want to play God, you can get your entertainment somewhere else."
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Just classic lines. Just brilliant writing.
Oh, it was fantastic writing.
Well, I hope that this new Star Trek series, and I think it will. You know, we talked about it.
Yeah.
They're making a new Star Trek that should be out on CBS by 2017.
Next year.
And it's based on the actual 60s William Shatner Star Trek. So they're going to have more villains, more younger actors, obviously, and just situations, more planets, they said. So if they make this series in its classic form with a great line, I just think, I think it'll be a hit.
Absolutely.
I really think it'll be a hit.
It'll be fascinating. I guess you bought a new heater. We kind of had to put it out of the way, but you bought a heater?
Well, I'm not going to use it in the summer, but I did.
It looks like a little robot.
I'll get it. Yeah, it does. I'll show it to you.
It's fascinating. Hi,
it's
robot.
It's just kind of it does look like a robot heater.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It looks like a little android. Hi, robot. How are you? It's fascinating.
And what's funny? This thing looks like R2-D2.
It does, yeah.
If you think about
it does. There's some robot on out of Star Wars.
And the funny thing about this heater is when you push this button, it revolves. It spins this way and that way.
Yeah.
Instead of like the traditional heaters to stay in one spot, right? So you got to like get right up under it. But see, with this thing spinning around like that, it should make the area where I'm at more warmer and more
wonderful.
And I bought this thing today so that I don't have to be using up my main heating system at home.
Oh, wonderful.
Stuff like that. So let me put this back over here. That's why I bought it.
Fascinating, yeah.
I've been getting little knickknacks for the household. So.
That's great. Yeah.
And I think that'll save on my heating bill. So we'll find out when winter comes. And I tested it. It works perfectly fine. So.
Good.
Let's play some more music here.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I had taken photos of my messy room, with all the stuff on the floor. I wish I could have brought that in, but I couldn't find it, so it wasn't there.
Well, you didn't know we were going to be talking about this stuff, too.
Yeah.
That's the thing about this show, you never know what we're going to talk about.
At least you guys got to see my space station when I was 11 and 12 years old. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
You and I would have just been playing Space War toys.
Oh, I was into that.
Yeah,
I was so into that when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yep. We probably would have been even, watching Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers together and spent the night or something. Like Buck Rogers on Battlestar, like, look at the lasers, look! I want another soda pop!
This would have been a blast,
Yeah, it would have been a blast, yeah. Because I always drank soda pop, so it makes it even more, our simulation even more realistic. Because I always drank soda as a kid, because I was too young for coffee, and definitely too young for alcohol, so it was soda pop.
Well, I admit I do like drinking coffee.
Yeah, I love coffee.
Especially in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like drinking the, well, I know we have more coffees to choose from now. They didn't have like all the lattes and stuff when I was growing up.
I know, yeah.
But some of those lattes are good. Like I go to the Cafe Dolce over at the mall.
Yes,
I get a plain cup of coffee, and they put this hazelnut flavoring or vanilla flavoring instead of sugar. And it's almost like drinking a coffee shake.
It is. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Nice and hot. And that's just some of the things I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I drank. Unfortunately, the doctor, my pediatrician, cut me off from soda pop. Isn't that awful?
Well, I mean, I can see it if you're drinking like 5 and 6 sodas a day.
Oh, I was. I would go, one of those big bottles. I would go through a half of that a day.
Yeah, and that's really not good, but...
Well, it's all I had to drink.
I know, I realize that a lot of families, they just serve their kids Coke and stuff.
And I wanted the Coke. I loved the Coke and the Pepsi. I just loved it. Even Royal Crown Cola I liked,
I remember Royal Crown Cola. I didn't care for it as much, but
I drank it. I never liked Tab.
Yeah, I remember Tab.
I did not like Tab.
Yeah, and it didn't have that Coke flavor to me.
Yeah, do they?
And Dr. Pepper wasn't horrible. That either.
Oh, it's horrible. It's made from prune juice. It tastes like medicine. It tastes like cough syrup medicine.
Oh boy, I don't think they're going to be hiring you and me as a spokesperson for Dr. Pepper.
No, they're not.
That didn't work for me.
Not at all.
When I was growing up.
Do they even make Tab anymore?
Probably not.
Yeah, it was so bad. I know they make Dr. Pepper. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me.
That's all right. I just did not like Tab or Dr. Pepper. No way. Some sort of...
Yeah, I remember that. And I liked root beer.
Yeah, I liked root beer a lot, and root beer floats. I liked that.
And I liked 7-Up, too. That was pretty good.
7-Up was delicious, yeah.
My birth mom would make, like, chicken soup and give me 7-Up when I wasn't feeling well. And it always settled my stomach.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. If I had been sick to my stomach, a little 7-Up would settle my stomach. I remember that very well.
Yeah, I know it.
And it was like heaven to me, just if I had been throwing it kind of sick, the whole thing when you get the stomach flu. 7-Up tastes like heaven, a little bit of 7-Up just like heaven. Whoa. I don't know why, but it does settle the stomach. I don't know why. Normally I don't drink it, but, a little 7-Up to settle the stomach is great, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, on this cold, chilly June day, amazing, we can be in this meadow and pretend it's 80 degrees,
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful daisies. Hi, daisies. Partly cloudy, yep.
Mm-hmm. You won't probably know this song.
No, I don't.
This is called This Is a Man's World.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's called This Is a Man's World, James Brown. That's my little feeble piano attempt on that song.
Yeah.
But, it would sound chauvinistic by today's standards, but if you think about the lyrics of that song, he says it's a man's world, Noah built the ark, man built the cars, man built this and that, but it would be nothing without a woman or a girl.
Exactly.
So I think that kind of puts women up on a pedestal,
it does,
the lyrics of that song. Mm-hmm. But, in our culture, can't go around saying it's a man's world.
Yeah.
But it worked for him.
Yeah, it does.
If you take the lyrics of that song's context, I think it elevates
women. It does. I
really think, because at the end of every line, it talks about the accomplishments of man and what they achieved. But it's nothing.
Yeah.
Without a woman or a girl. So, yeah, my father used to listen to James Brown when I was a little boy growing up. So anyway, he was quite the performer. I got to see James Brown in concert.
Oh, cool.
Years ago. And he pretty much sang the songs in real life in that concert that he did on his recordings. And another thing he did, I know it was probably staged, but he'd be up there crying.
Yeah.
He'd be singing, right? And then he'd get to crying, and he'd get down on his knees, and he's like really crying, right? And then this guy would come up with this cape like Superman, and they'd put this cape on him. All of a sudden, he'd leap up, and he'd get all this energy, and he'd start dancing on stage again. It was the funniest thing. This is the same thing they always did. It was like this big, long, like Liberace cape, had all these colors on it and stuff. He'd be up there, like, get down with the mic like this, right? And when that guy came up with that cape, boop, energy. And I know that was part of the show, and probably staged, but it was fun to watch, So, James Brown, I saw him in concert.
Fascinating.
He offered me a job, too, but he wasn't looking for a pianist. He's like, "Hey, Asaph, can you play trombone, man?" I was like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. I can't play trombone. I don't know anything about that instrument." That's a true story. He offered me a job. He was looking for a trombone player. And I remember thinking, man, I wish I could learn how to play the trombone in 1 minute or less.
Yeah.
I would have taken that job.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I would have taken that job in a heartbeat and gone on the road.
Yeah.
Because, James Brown was quite the performer. Speaking of James Brown, I did a story yesterday, on Wake Up Missoula. Mm-hmm. I guess who I did a story on?
James Brown?
No, I did a story on a product called Afro Sheen. Uh-huh. Do you remember Afro Sheen?
No, I don't.
Heard of it?
No.
Well, in the 70s, the African American people were wearing these round afros, and they had this spray. It was called Afro Sheen that they would really spray in their hair. Uh-huh. So I did a story on the product because when that wore out in the African American world, then they have what was called a Jerry curl. That's spelled Jheri, Jerry curl. And what it was is they put this cream stuff in your hair, in the African American hair, and it would straighten out the curls and make it slick. And then they would put this some more of that Afro Sheen, and then when you sit on a couch, when you leave the couch, it would leave a ring on a circle like that Eddie Murphy movie. Yeah. And so I talked about that. It was just the funniest thing, but I don't know if you saw Coming to America or not.
No, I never did.
Well, some of Eddie Murphy's early works are very difficult to watch.
Yeah.
Let's just face it, because of the language. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not picking on him. But I like him as he got older, when he began to mellow out, because he started doing more family-oriented movies.
Like Daddy Daycare, I have that movie. I love that movie. That was so sweet.
Daycare is fun. And my favorite, of course, is Dr. Dolittle. You haven't seen that yet?
No, I haven't, no.
You really should. They had a great cast. They had people like Ellen DeGeneres on it. Well, their voices.
Yeah.
And Norm Macdonald, he plays the dog that Eddie Murphy adopts. And so you can hear the conversation between Eddie Murphy and the dog.
Yeah.
And the dog kept calling him Bonehead.
Yeah.
But it was just a cute little movie. And they had this scene where Dr. Dolittle is in the zoo, and they're looking for this tiger because this tiger was sick. And so they wanted to take the tiger out the cage and bring him to the hospital so they could fix the tiger and make him feel better. And the tiger got loose after they got him out of the zoo cage, and they were at this fancy dinner before taking the tiger to the hospital. The tiger gets loose and he starts walking around with all the people with their fancy gowns. Everybody's freaking out. There's a tiger in here! And then there was this talking rat, or a guinea pig, and that was Chris Rock's voice, the comedian. And so that tiger sees this little guinea pig and he says, lunch. And then he starts going after the guinea pig, and everybody's like running away from the tiger at this party and stuff. And it was just such a cute film.
Yeah.
But I hope you get to see it. Eddie Murphy's Dr. Dolittle. Actually, that's based on the original Dr. Dolittle of the 60s. But there's an actor named Rex Harrison that made that role famous. He's the original Dr. Dolittle. See if I can figure out how to play that. Let me try it again.
Talk to the Animals. I love that song. Lawrence Welk covered that. Oh, I love that. Talk to the Animals. I love that song.
Something like that. I'm gonna try it again.
Like I said, Lawrence Welk one time had a skit where many of the musicians, including Myron Florin, dressed up as animals while playing in champagne style their instruments. Even Lawrence Welk was some sort of animal, and he was playing the good gravy, the accordion. The accordion and some other. I loved it. I just loved it. It was sweet. It was adorable.
Anyway, that Dr. Dolittle is from the original. Eddie Murphy's is from the original with Rex Harrison. You can look him up. He's the original Dr. Dolittle, and in fact, I think Rex Harrison. And I know this before your time. He's probably the best Dr. Dolittle period. But Eddie Murphy, getting back to him, his version is not too bad either. It's more of a modern Dr. Dolittle. He lives in San Francisco, and so that's where they did it. Whereas Rex Harrison, I think they were like out in the jungle for real or something like that. Yeah. But it's still fun. 48 Hours was a tough movie to watch.
48 Hours?
Eddie Murphy's 48 Hours.
Never saw it.
No, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Really bad language. It was basically he's helping a detective solve crime. Eddie Murphy's character gets out of prison, but it's just the language. It was like so overkill, ongoing.
Yeah.
And all of Eddie Murphy's early movies were like that, just really bad language.
Yeah.
And so it's tough to watch, especially if you got your grandchildren. You don't want your grandchildren listening to that kind of language there. So, oh wow, time is speeding. We got about 20 minutes left. See how much time
it
goes? But so, no, I'm not, like I said, I'm not picking on Eddie Murphy, and I'm not telling people don't watch Eddie Murphy movies. I'm just saying that his early works are very difficult to watch because, and I understand the context. I know that some movies, I look at it like this. If some movies had a little bit of vulgarity, or a television show, that's one thing. But when it's like on and on and on, that's a different matter.
Because there was some vulgarity and bad language, of course, in the Alien movies, in the Alien trilogy.
Yeah, but it was like once in a blue moon, like if an alien's about to eat your leg off, you might say the S word, but it's just his early works, especially Delirious, all those were really bad.
I saw some of his early works. Yeah, I wanted to. And I didn't laugh. They were supposed to be comedians. I just wasn't laughing.
See, the problem I have with comedians is why do they have to use all that bad language?
Exactly.
I don't think it's funny.
Yeah, it's not.
Now I know there may be an audience for that, and I understand that. But what about the people who aren't into that?
Exactly.
This is why I appreciate Darren Streblow. Have you ever heard?
No, I never have.
He does like a radio program. Where he hosts a radio program, and he also hosts it's like this comedy show where he features comedians, and they're all clean.
Oh, good.
Not a sexual innuendo or...
Wonderful.
It's just one of those, like, Andy Griffith clean, wholesome comedy, and it's funny, too.
Wonderful.
So, I'm not a comedian, and maybe that's the style, but I just don't think it's necessary. That bad dialogue in comedy.
And
if I were a comedian, I wouldn't want to be using that language. Because there's children watching.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't want to do it even in late hours because there's going to be some kid somewhere that's going to he's going to break through the cracks and be watching. And that's not necessary.
Yeah. I guess you wouldn't like the punk rock band Defiance. Every other word is a swear word. I love their lyrics and I hate society. I just hate the government. I'm so frustrated.
I understand that, but, again, it's the context.
It is, yeah.
So I'm not telling people don't listen to that. I'm not telling people they shouldn't use that language if they're into that for music. I'm just saying that I don't think it's necessary.
Right, yeah.
Even though I understand the context.
Exactly, yeah.
Like our friend on Star Trek, the punk rocker.
Oh, I love that, yeah. I love that.
So, this is a family show. I won't get into it. But anyway, that's just a funny scene.
It is hilarious,
on that San Francisco bus. And what I liked about that scene is it's real. Because if you're in San Francisco, anything can happen,
Yep.
I left my heart in San Francisco. Beautiful song. I'll do it for you. I'm sorry. Let me redeem myself. I want to do that over. Let me play it all the way through. But anyway, getting back to San Francisco, the punk rock scene, that's something that would actually happen in a big major city like that. So, but I have to admit that even though I don't think it's necessary, and you look at the context, that scene was funny.
It was hilarious.
I don't think it would have worked if they didn't have that particular language for that scene.
Right.
So that's what I mean by context.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's like this big scrapping fella.
Yeah, Mohawk, incredible song, incredible about hating people.
Excuse me, will you turn that music down? And he turns it up louder.
Yeah, I just loved it.
And Spock reaches over and gives it a neck pinch and knocks him out.
I was laughing so hard, tears were streaming down my face.
The first time I saw that scene, I admit that was very, very funny. So
it was.
Let me do that song again for you.
And that kind of helped get me into the punk rock movement because, hey, this is great. It kind of was my first journey into the punk rock movement. I've tried to emulate that ever since I've been a punk rocker. Listen, but that's one of the best punk rock songs I've ever heard by a band called Edge of Etiquette called I Hate You. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw it.
Wonderful. That is classic punk rock.
Yep. I know, I agree. These keys are really hard to push down. here's the conclusion too. I left my heart in San Francisco. But anyway, yeah, I admit, again, getting back to that scene, that's an amusing scene. And what fun movies those Star Trek movies were. Yeah, they were really fun.
Yeah.
Just a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And I think I mentioned number 6 was my personal favorite of the 10 Star Trek films. Mm-hmm. I like the plot line. It's, I don't know if you saw it, but the Klingon moon Praxis exploded, and so there was only about a third of the planet left because the whole body just exploded and floated out in space. So that means that what was left of the planet only had about 50 years of oxygen left. So the President Gorkon wanted to set up a peace treaty and stop fighting, with the Starfleet because they were inoperative. And so what it was, the peace treaty didn't sit well with some of the people in Starfleet, some of the admirals, and it didn't sit well with some of the higher-ups in the Klingon Empire. So what they did was they conspired together. Yeah. And they didn't conspire because they were friends. They had an ulterior motive, but they teamed up even though they hated each other to stop this peace treaty. Yeah. And that's basically what it was about. So Captain Kirk had to figure out the bad guys on the Starfleet side and the Klingon side. So what they do to get him out of the way, they frame Captain Kirk and Dr. McCoy for a murder, and they send them to the this mining planet. Yes. So that they'd have to crack rocks and stuff to get them out of the way, and they were set up. And of course, Kirk escapes. Rura Pente is the name of the planet, the prison planet. Yes. And so he escapes and goes and solves the crime like he always does. Yes. And he figures out who the bad guys are on both sides. And that's a great line, that the good and the bad guys team up to stop a peace treaty so that they can keep on fighting after they do that. So, but that's my personal favorite of all the movies. Now, I did a story on Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, the 2 film critics of the past. They didn't like Star Trek 1, 3, and 5, but they did like 2, 4, and 6. Yep. I basically liked them all.
Yeah. I didn't like Star Trek 5, but I loved Star Trek 1 the best. That was my favorite.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I have to admit, I did like number 1. I liked the storyline. They send the probe out in space, the Voyager probe, and it was out there so long for like 300 years that it became a living machine. Yeah. And then it was ready to go back to the Earth and transmit the information that it had stored over the centuries, but nobody would recognize the signal. Yeah. So V'ger gets ticked off, right? Yeah. He starts threatening to destroy the Earth, trying to find its creator. I think that's a good storyline.
It is.
But I think where some people got lost with that is because I guess they were expecting Star Trek like the series.
Yes.
And in this movie, it had a lot of orchestral music, which I thought was very beautiful music.
Yeah, I have the soundtrack at home.
They focused more on the special effects, and it was kind of a slow, humdrum kind of episode.
I loved it for that reason.
I liked it, but I'm just saying that
I know.
Star Trek audiences, I think that's what they were expecting. I think they were expecting some butt-kicking like Captain Kirk does, and that just didn't happen. Yeah. But I did like, and I liked Lieutenant Alia.
Yeah, definitely.
That character, she had a dual role. She plays herself, and then she plays the alien probe sent by V'ger. I personally thought it was brilliant writing.
It was.
I have been programmed by V'ger to observe carbon-based units, the activities in the carbon-based units infesting USS Enterprise. Listen to that lie, infesting.
Exactly.
It's just brilliant writing.
Yeah, it is.
So, Captain Kirk, of course, figures it out, right? Like he always does. And it was just so... I thought it was fun watching it.
It was, yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll pop that... Because I have the VHS version, so I'll pop it
Same
in
here,
once in a while and enjoy it. So it's just a lot of fun. But I'm waiting for that new Star Trek series to come out.
Same here. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I think it'll be very good.
Yeah.
And I hope I hope it won't disappoint. I hope they will stick to
definitely.
Star Trek to make that work. It's like some of these movies, when if they're cartoons, like the Flintstones, for example. Did you see the movie The Flintstones?
No, I didn't.
Well, it had a good cast, like John Goodman, Elizabeth Taylor, and all these people. But what made that movie fun was because it stuck to the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember at the beginning of the Flintstones when Fred Flintstone slides down the dinosaur's tail? They actually had that in the movie. And it looked like John Goodman was actually sliding down that giant dinosaur's tail. He flips up and goes, yabba dabba doo, and he lands in the car. That's pretty cool. They had that. And the whole plot line, it just stuck to the... It was like watching a cartoon, but just...
Right.
So when they take these cartoons and they make them where they stick to the storyline, that's cool. It's when they start getting too creative and start taking too much artistic license, and it's not fun.
Well, like the Transformers, that's very good.
Yeah.
No, I loved the Transformers cartoon, but I did not like the movies. I think they got off track, and there was some vulgar humor with the movies.
See, and that's not necessary.
It isn't. I was very disappointed.
I'll do that song again for you.
Yeah, I loved the Transformers, yeah. Fascinating. Oh, someone's calling you.
Alright, let's see who it is. Hello? Hello? You have the wrong number. Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
I never answered the phone on my own show, so there's a first for everything. Speaking of firsts, I told you I went to this children's concert last night. I don't know if it'll show up on camera or the speaker here, but let's hear a piece of it here. Michael Jackson's ABC.
Yep.
Isn't that cool?
Yep.
Give me one more chance. That's pretty cute.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, I have my next door neighbor. Her name is Cheyenne Cooper. She's 12 years old, and she was in this choir.
Oh, cool.
Night. So I went with her grandmother, and I recorded some of this footage. And her grandmother, Cheyenne's grandmother, had her cell or smartphone, so that there was a bunch of parents there last night. They all had either the film cameras or these smartphone cameras, and there was probably I'd say about 30 kids, maybe more, in this choir. So they were doing Michael Jackson's "I Want You Back."
Yeah, they played that on Daddy Daycare. Yeah, they played that on Daddy Daycare. Got that videotape of Daddy Daycare at home. It's just an adorable movie.
Yeah, like I said, Daddy Daycare was fun.
Yeah. And I can relate to it because I've babysat kids, so I can relate to that.
I used to do some baby. In fact, I used to be a nanny before I became a full-time pianist.
Interesting, yeah.
I worked for several families. Some were live-in jobs, and some weren't, and things like that. But that's hard work.
It is.
People don't realize how hard that is to be a nanny. I mean, they'd be watching Mr. Belvedere. They'd be thinking it's all fun, and no, it's not. It's a big responsibility.
It is, yeah.
Watching children, cooking for them, cleaning that house.
Yep.
Running errands, everything. So it's a big responsibility. I passed the background checks. I was so much younger.
Yeah.
At the time, and I had nothing to hide. So they trusted me and they hired me. Watch their children and stuff. I did a lot of housekeeping and more of that when I was a nanny. I used to get a lot of Fran Dresser jokes because there was a television show called The Nanny with the actress Fran Drescher. I can't pronounce her name. And I was full-time nanny at that time when that show was popular. And that show was so funny. Did you ever see it?
No, I never did.
Well, she's like this really hot nanny, really good-looking nanny. She's working for this rich guy, Mr. Shetfield, and they lived in this big castle, this big mansion. And it was always funny because she had this nasally voice. Hi, Mr. Shetfield. It was just such a funny show. It's called The Nanny, and It's hard to explain. You just have to watch it.
They had an adorable show. It was the cutest show. It was like around the 1980s, late 80s, early 90s, called Baby Talk. It was a sitcom about 2-year-olds and their adventures.
Yeah, I think that was based on the movie, wasn't it, with Tom Selleck?
Yeah, and ironically, the toddlers could communicate with each other mentally by It was kind of odd. They were just talking to each other. It was just an adorable show, you know?
Yeah. I'm sure it is. It's just like the movie Baby Talk.
Yeah. Or like Look Who's Talking. Was that the movie or not?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking. I think it was Tom Selleck and, I can't think of the other two actors. But
Yeah. That was just an adorable show. I just loved it. Yeah.
Well, all those shows, like Kindergarten Cop, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, I didn't like that. I didn't like the concept of that. That's kind of
really?
dumb. Yeah.
Well, my point is, they try to make those cute little fun movies, and if they do it right, it works. I'm not gonna bite this. I'm gonna give you half of this because all I got left.
I don't feel like any thanks though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I already have one, so thanks.
Senior Center.
Oh, wonderful.
We're giving out these free candies today.
Yeah.
So. Well, Teresa should be here in the second taping. We're almost out of time. But I like the topics we covered today.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And it's fun being out on the metal set.
Yes.
And I didn't do much physical playing today, just chords and talking. And sometimes it's fun to just sit on the set and just talk.
It is, yeah.
And of course, there'll probably be more things to talk about if Teresa shows up. You know, she dyed her hair blue last week.
Yeah, I know. Wonderful, yeah.
It's really blue now because, you get that perm time to set in. Well, I saw her about an hour ago. And she said she was working till 3 o'clock and she might be able to stop by. We'll be off this by then because we've only got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, it's 3:12 now, so.
Yeah. So she'll probably be on this set here. Any final words you want to say before we sign off?
Yes, there were these 2 washing machines, and they saw a hat in their way. That was a real joke, wasn't that surreal? One said to the other, "Is that in your way?" The other said, "No, that hat is in your way, and it's blocking my view." Ha ha! Isn't that hilarious?
That's it.
Yep.
Well, I guess we can just sign off.
Oh, and here's Teresa now.
Well, coming in, Teresa. You're catching the tail end. Put your stuff there, and you can stand behind Emmet. Started. We're about to end.
Oh,
we're going to do show number 2 in a moment. We were just talking about you.
What were you saying? Everything good, right?
Oh yeah.
Good. Yeah, we just talked about your lovely blue hair.
Hey, can I show you something? Can I show you guys something?
What?
You got about 2 minutes.
Okay. Because I was talking about this last week.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm hurrying. Okay, everybody.
Stand behind Emmet and show it. This is that camera right there. No. This camera here. Yeah.
Can they see it?
I don't know. They might. Oh, hair. The
Hair.
musical.
Oh yeah, the musical.
Hair, the musical.
Oh yes.
Well, maybe we can talk about it on the next show because we're winding down now.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well stay here and we'll just sign up with you on.
All right.
Okay.
When we do show number 2 and go back to the other set,
All right.
we'll just talk about that.
Yep.
Well, Emmet, again, don't quit your day job.
Yep.
And thanks for coming, Teresa. We're winding down on this first show here. We just talked about heaven. We talked about science fiction and just the stuff, G.I. Joe.
Yep.
Growing up. Just those fun things, stuff like that.
Did you see my backpack?
I'll take a look at it as soon as we sign off.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion of this version of Asaph. And again, this is Asaph on the Prairie because we're out on the prairie today. And on my left, affectionately, our aging rocker Emmet, and of course Teresa Toigo, which will be on the next episode of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and until our next show, Maranatha. And freeze on that chord. Well, you guys just make yourself at home. I'll walk out the other way and shut this down, and then I'll take a look at your thing, and we'll set up in a little while. For the second show.
I'm going to change because I'm
Yeah, I know. We
too
can do
hot.
that. We can do that.